Sometimes things just slip out, not because they're important, not because the moment is right. Actually, this probably isn't the right moment at all. I didn't plan to say anything tonight. I wasn't sitting here rehearsing words or trying to make something sound beautiful. If anything, I've been doing the opposite for a long time, keeping quiet, letting the feeling stay where it was, somewhere safe and unspoken. But it's strange how certain thoughts keep returning, softly, like they're patient enough to wait until you finally stop pretending they're not there. And lately, when I'm near you, or even when I'm not, that same quiet thought keeps finding its way back to me. I notice the way I listen a little closer when you speak, the way the room feels slightly different when you walk in, like something settles inside me without asking. I don't know exactly when that started or when it stopped being a passing feeling. I just know that somewhere along the way, what I feel for you stopped being small and became something real. And I guess what I'm trying to say is, if I were to tell you that my feelings for you are actually real and have been for longer than I ever meant to admit, I wonder if you would have been feeling this for longer than I realized, longer than I ever wanted to admit, or maybe even notice. It's funny how something can sit in the quiet parts of your mind, almost invisible, almost like it's not really there until one day you realize it's been shaping everything without you even knowing. I think about it sometimes, how slowly it crept in, how softly it settled, and I wonder why I didn't see it before, or maybe I did, in little flashes, in moments so small I didn't recognize them as anything at all. I catch myself remembering things I'd long forgotten, and now they're all wrapped around this feeling, like it's been quietly following me, just waiting until I could admit it to myself. It's strange, isn't it, how someone can become a part of you without you noticing the edges forming first. You're there, and the world keeps going, and I keep moving, and yet there's this quiet tether I've felt for a while. Maybe it was in the way I paused when you spoke, even when I thought I wasn't paying attention. Maybe it was in the way I found myself laughing at things I wouldn't normally notice, or noticing things I wouldn't normally care about. I catch a glance, a gesture, a word you said months ago, and suddenly it all clicks together, and I realize it wasn't small at all. It was everything, and I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know what to name it. Sometimes I think I've been feeling this for so long that it's almost become part of the furniture of my days. Like it's in the air I breathe without noticing, like it's in the quiet corner of the morning, the soft space between one thought and the next. I remember mornings where I woke and the thought of you was already there before my mind had fully started, before coffee or the news or the routine of the day. I remember evenings where I found myself thinking of you and then pretending I wasn't, pretending it didn't matter, pretending that it was nothing more than passing attention. But it wasn't nothing. It was never nothing. And somehow, over time, it kept returning. The same gentle insistence that maybe quietly I was already too far along to stop noticing it. I notice it in the way I remember your laugh. Not just that you laugh, but how it changes the room for a second, how it drifts and folds into the air and makes me feel a little lighter, even if the rest of the world is heavy. I notice it in your eyes sometimes, in that small, unguarded way when you're looking at something or thinking about something else. I notice the things you don't even know you're doing, and somehow they linger. And every time I notice, I realize that this has been happening for a long time, that my heart has been collecting these small pieces of you without me even realizing it. I don't know if I ever wanted to notice it, really. Maybe part of me was afraid that noticing it would make it real in a way I couldn't handle. Or maybe I was just used to the quiet, the gentle hum of it in the background that I didn't need to name it. But now that I'm here talking softly and trying to put this into words, I can see that it has been real all along. Quiet, yes. Subtle, yes. Patient, yes. Waiting, yes. Waiting for me, maybe, or just existing, indifferent, not asking for anything. But real. And sometimes I think about the little ways it has shown itself over time. How even before I understood it, it was present. Like the times I caught myself wanting to hear from you even when it wasn't necessary. Like the way I remembered something you mentioned in passing and smiled to myself not because I was proud or trying to be clever, but because it mattered in a way I didn't have words for. And I realized that all of this has been a quiet archive, a slow accumulation of everything I've felt. And only now do I notice the depth of it, the persistence, the way it has shaped moments without ever needing to shout. I think of all the small coincidences, the times when our paths almost crossed or did cross, and the little nudges I felt in my chest, the quiet reminder that something was growing. I didn't name it then. I couldn't. I wasn't ready, maybe. Or maybe I thought naming it would ruin it or push it somewhere else. And yet, here it is, still quietly here. And it's strange how something so quiet can feed. L so full, I find myself circling back to memories, to little fragments of the past that suddenly feel heavy with meaning. That time you said something so ordinary, but it stuck with me. That smile that I caught in passing, and I carried it for hours, unknowingly. I see now that these weren't just moments, they were tiny markers, quiet evidence that I've been feeling this for longer than I ever realized. And I wonder if you ever noticed, or if it only existed in the silent spaces of my own attention. I wonder if it would matter if you did, or if it would change anything at all. Sometimes I catch myself thinking about how to even say this without making it sound like a confession, without making it feel like an event, without framing it like something monumental, because it isn't. It's not meant to be. It's just me speaking softly, letting the words find their way out after a long time of being quiet. It's just me noticing, finally, that the feeling was always there, that it grew in the quiet, in the spaces between thoughts, in the pauses I didn't name. And somehow, finally, I can let it linger in the air, just like it always has. I notice the way my chest tightens when I think of you, and not in a dramatic way, but like a small, persistent tug, like a reminder that this has been real, that I've been holding this quietly, gently, without needing to act. I notice how familiar it feels and yet new every time it surfaces. I notice that I don't need to explain it, don't need to justify it, don't need to prove it. I just notice it, and I think that's what matters, maybe. That's what matters now, that I can finally say it, even if it trails off, even if it's messy, even if it doesn't land anywhere but here. And I keep coming back to this, that I've been feeling this for longer than I realized, and somehow that matters in its own quiet way. It matters because it's true, because it's patient, because it's stayed, even when I didn't ask it to, even when I didn't name it, even when I tried not to notice. And now, here, soft and unplanned, it rises again. And I think maybe I just wanted you to know that, because it's been here all this time, quiet, subtle, persistent, waiting. And I suppose that's enough to say for now, enough to let it hang between us, and maybe that's all it needs. But I can feel it, and I want you to feel it too. I want it strange how close you've become without me noticing. Strange, because I don't remember exactly when it happened, or how. One day, the space between us felt like just space, and the next, it didn't. It didn't feel empty anymore. I would think I was standing still, or maybe moving through my day without thought, and then I'd notice something small, a glance, a pause, a word, and suddenly you were there. Not in a dramatic way, not in a way that announces itself, just there, quietly, almost casually. And somehow, in that quiet, I realized you had crept into the corners of my attention, filling the little cracks I didn't even know were waiting. I think about it sometimes, the way it must have happened in pieces, little unnoticed threads tying you to me. I remember moments I barely registered at the time, things that seemed ordinary, meaningless, and now they feel like markers, like little proof that somehow, without me realizing, you had become part of the way I see the world. Maybe it was the way I laughed a little too long at something you said, or how I found myself remembering a word, a phrase, a tone that had no significance to anyone else but lodged itself in my chest for hours. I didn't think it was important then. I didn't name it then, but it mattered. Somehow, it mattered. It's strange because closeness, like this, doesn't announce itself. It doesn't arrive with a bang or a sig. And it's in the small things, the almost invisible ones, the things you only notice if you're paying attention, or maybe even if you're not. I notice it now in the way I listen to you, even when you're talking to someone else or not talking at all. I notice it in the rhythm of your movements, the pauses you take, the way you tilt your head when you're thinking. And I wonder how long I've been noticing, how long I've been feeling this, and never quite admitting it even to myself. I think about the quiet mornings or evenings when the light shifts just enough to make the world seem softer. And I realize that in those moments, I'm thinking of you, whether I meant to or not. I notice a memory of you in a trivial moment, something small, a smile, a phrase, a glance, and it lingers. It lingers in a way that surprises me, that catches me off guard, because I didn't expect it to matter, and yet it does. And then I start to see that the closeness, the feeling of you being near, has been growing under the surface for so long that I didn't recognize it at first. It's in the way I imagine you in the spaces I inhabit. I imagine you in quiet rooms, in streets I walk down alone in the half light of early morning, or the softness of late evening, and I realize that imagining you has become effortless, natural, like breathing. And that's the part that's strange, because it's not dramatic, not sudden, not some flood of feeling that knocks me over. It's gentle, steady, persistent, and somehow, quietly, it's claimed a space in me I didn't know could belong to someone else. And yet, I still catch myself pretending, sometimes, even now, that it isn't real, that it's just a passing thought, but it's not. And I can't pretend anymore, because every little thing brings me back to noticing you. The way a laugh echoes, the way a pause stretches in a conversation, the way a pause stretches in a conversation, the way a shadow moves across your arm, face when you're focused on something else. It's all these little details, all these tiny moments, all these gentle traces that make me realize just how close you've become. And the closeness isn't loud. It doesn't demand attention. It just exists. And it's strange because it's everywhere, even when you're not. I catch myself smiling at the thought of you, and sometimes I don't even know why. A memory surfaces, and my chest tightens, softly, like a quiet tug, and I realize again that I've been carrying you without noticing it. And when I notice, I circle back, thinking of the countless times I almost said something, almost reached for it, almost let it show, but didn't. And somehow, the fact that I didn't only made the feeling stronger, more patient, more persistent. It didn't leave. It didn't fade. It waited quietly, almost as if it knew that someday I'd finally see it, finally admit it, finally let it speak. I think of conversations that seemed ordinary, where I only noticed you halfway through, something you said or did, and then suddenly I was aware. A subtle shift in the air, a change in the rhythm, and I realized that the awareness itself has become familiar, that the feeling of you, even unspoken, has a weight that shapes my thoughts, my attention, the way I move through time. It's soft but undeniable, quiet but significant, and every time I notice it again, it surprises me, and yet it doesn't, because it's always been there, always moving beneath the surface, shaping the way I see, the way I feel, without ever demanding recognition. And it's strange how easy it has become to think in terms of you, how often your presence threads through my mind without interruption, how effortlessly you've occupied a space in me I didn't know existed, how gently you've become a part of the everyday, the ordinary, the unnoticed moments of my life. It's strange because it's not ometing that happened all at once. It happened gradually, without ceremony, without announcement, and maybe that's why it feels almost accidental, almost like I wasn't meant to notice. And yet here it is. Here it has been all along, and I'm only now realizing the depth of it. And I think about the little ways you reach me without knowing it. A smile across a room, a word said too softly, a gesture I catch in passing and hold on to. And I realize that these moments, these small, fleeting things have been enough to pull me closer without me understanding it. That closeness isn't always about distance measured in feet or steps. Sometimes it's in the quiet attention, the way a person lingers in thought, the way their presence subtly threads through your days. And I didn't see it at first, didn't know it was happening, didn't know that this slow, quiet accumulation could become something like this. And now, here I am noticing it again, over and over like a slow tide. The way you've become part of the air I breathe, the quiet hum in the background of my thoughts, the subtle shift that makes everything else feel just a little softer. And it's strange because it's not something I can point to, not something I can mark or name. It's just a feeling that moves and folds itself into my awareness, that grows without fanfare, that exists quietly, persistently. And I think maybe I finally see it for what it is, finally feel it for what it has become, finally notice that I don't know if you hear it in the way I feel it or if it even matters that you do. I just notice it quietly, over and over again, how present it has become, how you have become part of the air around me, the small pauses in my day, the quiet moments I didn't know were waiting. I feel it in the way I watch you without thinking, the way I carry little pieces of you with me, fragments I can't quite name. And I don't need to make it something bigger than that. I don't need to shape it or explain it. It simply exists. It has been here for longer than I realized, and it's still here now, as soft and persistent as the light in a quiet room. And I'm here too, quietly, noticing, breathing, just being, as it waits and lingers, and I'm still standing here.